Hello, everyone. Good Sunday. Thank you for being here today. This is James when you're watching my reviews channel, where I'm here to give my honest review while trying to watch my mouth. Not gonna happen this video, but that's all right. We'll live to fight another day. Joining me as always is my co-host, Mrs. Besh. I'll say what's up to her.
Hello, happy Sunday. Like and share the video. Subscribe to James's channel. Lots to see.
Absolutely, y'all. I have a lot of shows in this coming month. So, Married to Medicine will be back next No, the Sunday after next. Oh no, next Sunday. Next Sunday, Married to Medicine is joining the lineup. So I'm gonna have a busy schedule, and also starting at 7 o'clock ish, Mrs. Best on both, I believe, Wednesday and Thursday, or maybe Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll be picking up not only Loving Hip Hop Miami, but also we'll be having Real Housewives of Beverly Hills coming back as well, which we're both really excited about. That is one of our favorite franchises in the Real Housewives realm, so we're excited. So make sure you subscribe to her channel and don't miss out on the fun, because best believe we're going to have fun. So without further ado, y'all, let's get into it. This is Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 9, Episode 3. This is Signed, Sealed, Divorced. Well, not yet, but we'll get to who that is referred to in a moment. So the episode picks up. The ladies are on their final dinner for the trip. This trip seemed like it's been 5 episodes, only been 3. But this trip has been forever in a day. I wonder how long they were actually there, because they have dragged this out so far. So Mel has all the ladies sit, at the table. She notices that Destiny and Sunny were seated next to each other, so she asked her friend Lauren, who was sitting on the other end, to switch because she didn't want Destiny to be uncomfortable at the table. And as they are talking the trip, Mel's talking about highs of the trip and how much fun it was to have the ladies, and it was actually better than she thought it was going to be. And then as she looked at Destiny, because all the ladies started clapping, Destiny kind of just sit there with the stone face. And she said, Destiny, you don't agree? Because I guess Lauren made a speech about how this has been a wonderful trip as well. And Destiny said, no, I don't have to do what everybody else does and everything. And then Destiny tells the table what was bothering her. It was bothering her that Nell asked Sunny about the whole children aspect, knowing that Sunny is married to her ex, and how uncomfortable that would be. And Nell immediately apologizes, because the last thing she wants to do is to hurt Destiny. She doesn't want to hurt Destiny. And even Mel chimed in to say, well, we all were talking about kids and everything in the future. So it wasn't like we were directly being messy and asking Sunny if she's going to have kids. We were just, filling in, just questions that were being asked. So Nell meant no harm by that. And Nell apologizes and, goes through. And Sunny interjects and saying, this is a girls' trip. And, I think friends are just trying to mend things, as best they can, on the girls' trip from betrayals and everything. As soon as she said the word betrayal, Destiny clocked in. She goes, it's funny you would use that word in our situation, because I have felt betrayed by you. And she goes, I don't know why you would be betrayed by me. We weren't friends. And had a little, little stank on it. And I understand both sides. I do. I understand both sides, not Sunny's actions. What I mean by both sides is Sunny has apologized profusely to Destiny at this point. And I'm not saying Destiny has to accept it, but I want Destiny to move on from this, because at the end of the day, she's married to the man. She can't undo it. She can't take it back. It's here. And I would like Destiny just to move on from the situation and just don't mess with her again. If you see her, just act like she ain't there. It's not that hard to do. And Sunny, I want you to stop throwing this in her face, that you weren't her friend, that you now married to the man. I want you to stop throwing that in her face, because this will put me on edge as well. It's like, regardless of what the relationship was, it still is in some instance of messiness. And if you're trying to be on this show, I want you to let this go too. How do you feel about this scene, Mrs. Best?
Um, I'm tired of it. Listen, Sunny does get an attitude and bring it up, but at the same time, she's not just bringing it up to talk about it in front of the woman. Anytime stuff comes up in front of Destiny, it's not because Sunny brought it up, it's because someone else on the cast brought it up. Um, the other thing, too, I do feel like Sunny knows that she's done something wrong. Destiny proving to us that Sunny would, broke girl code or any of that. It's not going to change anything. These people are still going to be together. I don't think that Destiny has a storyline without this situation. Doesn't seem like she has the strongest relationships anymore with anybody on the show. So I don't care to see it. And Sunny is only relevant because of Moses dating Destiny. So really, I don't know what Carlos was thinking allowing this even in here. I'm kind of over it. And like you, I understand both sides of it, but now that she's married, like it shouldn't even be a discussion. Yet these people keep fucking discussing it. So
I agree. I just feel like, what are we even talking about anymore? Okay, she's married to the man now. It's like, yes, it was messed up. Yes, it was shady. Yes, it was everything and above. But at the same time, it is dragging a dead horse. We cannot take the situation back. I don't know what Destiny wants from Sunny at this point. I don't know what you're wanting. She gave you an apology. She says she never meant to hurt you. And it's like, okay, we've just beaten a dead horse. We know she's married to the man. I get, and it's starting to make me feel like the fact that she's just so hell bent on every little thing reverting back to Sunny. It kind of makes me feel like you were damned that this wasn't you that got the ring, got married to this man, and you're taking it out on her. It's kind of like y'all. Um, what was the situation I was going to bring up in another video? It's kind of like, you know how Tara and Amina and Peter from Love and Hip Hop New York, you know how when she told Peter, "You made that woman your wife before me." That's what this is giving to me. This is giving that same context, is that you made this woman your wife before me. That's what I feel like she's mad at. I do. And that's what it's coming across as. But I could be wrong and I don't really care. But I hope not to talk about that. I hope this is the last time they're bringing a situation up as the show continues on. But moving on from there, Mel stands up and she brings up a blow up picture of all the ladies, and she says she's going to have every lady sign and she's going to give each lady a copy, which I thought was very sweet. She also has a bouquet of white roses. She's going to give each lady a rose and she reads a poem. And I thought it was real sweet. I thought the gestures of that last dinner was real nice. Um, and that was pretty much the end of the girls' trip. I was like, "Man, goddamn, we're now done with it finally." Because I'm telling you, these episodes dragged and dragged and dragged with this girls' trip. So I'm glad it's over. So we're gonna go ahead, Mrs. Best. Anything you want to add before we move on to the next scene?
yeah, I just want to say that Melody came off as extremely disingenuous. There's definitely a change in her from previous seasons. It could be because she's tired of these women, but I'd rather her go and do her own like separate show or something with her single girlfriends. I feel like that could be interesting, but I don't feel like she meshes or blends with the rest of this group anymore. But that's just my personal opinion. It's just every little thing she did for what was a terrible trip. Um, they tried to make it seem like it was a perfect trip. They argued every single day about every single thing from the moment they stepped front in the door. So I eh, no
You
more
know
trips. Leave that to the networks that's gonna pay.
I don't blame you. That's a good point. So moving on from there, we have a scene with Trish and Ken. And they're, went to like some kind of farmer's market, and they sit down at a bench or at a table and talking about the trip. And he asks her how the trip went, and she brings up that the ladies confronted her about the whole Martell thing, and how one of the ladies was comparing um, that situation to Sonny and Moses, and I was looking at her like, that's not what they were comparing. First off, they weren't comparing you and Ken to Sonny and Moses, and then the slipping of Martell. They were comparing the fact that you're throwing rocks at a glass house when your situation is just as messy. I don't know where Trish got in her mind that they were comparing, and maybe it was something that we didn't see. But the simple fact is that no one compared your relationship to Sonny and Moses with you and Ken. No one did that. And I just want to make sure we're all clear. Unless there's something that I missed, because I watched the episode 3 times. I don't know if I missed something in the previous episodes where they did compare the situations. I didn't feel like that at the time, and I don't know where she got that from, but that was crazy. Mrs. Best, do you think they were comparing her and Ken's relationship to Sonny and Moses?
I'm sorry, your voice cut out.
Oh, sorry. I was asking a question. Do you think that on the trip, the girls were comparing Trish and Ken's relationship to Sonny and Moses?
No, no. And everybody knows that. Trish knows that too. Um, I think in terms of the messiness, yes, because it's a messy situation. But in terms of comparing actual relationships, no. Trish just be looking for a moment. I just think she wanted to leave. I don't think it had anything to do with that, but I'm still wondering why she put on that big ass curly wig and how
Yes.
she balanced it on top of her head.
I'm not going here with you today. But what ended up happening from there is they bring the situation with Martell that they were asking about because of her saying that she went to his house to train him. And then on the trip, she went to his house and all they did was watch a movie. And then from Ken's perspective, Martell said she just came by the house, wasn't on no training. He wasn't really feeling her at the time. He did, so they just hung out. This story has changed so much that I no longer care what happened. What I believe is what I believe. I believe there was definitely more than watching a movie or training. I'm sorry because of how much it changed. And I'm going back to the initial reaction when they first were brought on camera with each other. She made it awkward by feeling slighted because he said, "Hi, my name is Martell." And she had an attitude and felt some kind of way. You don't do that with somebody who you're just training and somebody who slid in your DMs and you just, no, you feel that way when you've had personal connections with someone and they slice you and act like they didn't know you. Me and Mrs. Best talked about it on that episode once that episode aired. And this is from a friend's perspective. It wasn't even nothing like that. But we talked about that. So they convinced me with that. Something more happened. And I don't know what it could have been. I don't know if it was what he likes. I don't know if it was she likes, but I feel like something else there's more to this story. And I feel like for Ken to come out and was like, my objective is to protect you because they ain't gonna make you seem like you just some hoe out here. Like I'm not going for that. And it's just like, sir,
Says the guy that has a repeated process of dating women who are still legally married. Like, I don't give a flying, what comes out of their mouth. I don't think anybody even looked at or thought Trish was a hoe. We knew she was a liar, but we didn't think that she was a hoe. But now after him making that statement, I'm looking at her with a side eye. So I'm tired of the story. I don't care. I'd love to see like scenes of Trish and Ken like in the home together doing stuff with the kids, like because we really don't see them doing nothing but filming this show, talking about a bunch of rumors, but we haven't really gotten an opportunity to see like her life. So
I don't want to see them on this show, period. I want them to be gone. Carlos, this was a flop. This couple was a flop because she can't keep her shit straight. The timeline of their relationship is fuzzy. And I'm gonna get to the ending part because that scene upset me in a lot of different ways because of certain other things, which I'll bring up at the end. But I don't want to see them anymore. This is so, and that's what they also bring up is that they need to have a conversation with Marquez because he needs to, speed up the process on filing for the divorce and all this, and they need to kind of break some common ground. I was like, yeah, 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 same song, different. I don't really care. Next thing we have is Kimmy and Maurice. I forgot. I keep forgetting they own the show personally because they don't have not a near bit of storyline and hasn't had one in a minute. But Kimmy fills Maurice in on the trip, and she said that from the moment they got there, it was drama. She said she'll never really go on girls' trips because it's always drama. And he asked, "Well, who did you have drama with?" She said it was Nell. The was situation with the rooms, Melody, Tisha, and herself. They squashed it. They were good with it. Everything was okay. And then Nell comes out there and then starts hollering and yelling at the top of her lungs. And Kimmy's like, "No, yell at your children. Don't yell at me." And I agree that Nell was out of line. So that part was funny. And then Maurice asked her, "Okay, well, who did you feel like you connected more with on the trip?" And she said, "Actually, Trisha." They kind of got her in a little stutter when it came to the situation with Martell. And Maurice said, "It's funny you bring that up because Martell did talk about that, and he said that and that's when he mentions that she really wasn't. I guess I don't want to say because I don't want to say the term that she wasn't like a 10 because she's beautiful. She really is. And I can't imagine even with her being shape or if there's a possibility that she was out of shape because we only seen her in shape, that she wouldn't have been just as stunning. So I'm just kind of like, I don't want to say she wasn't done up, but he basically said she wasn't done up. She wasn't, for him. And Kimmy brings up the point of like in her confessional, which I thought was very interesting. The fact that they aren't really clear on what happened when she went over to Martell's house speculates that there could have been more that happened. And even in the conversation with Marie, she goes, I want them to specify what actually did happen. Like, what was something? What was the something that happened? Because you're leaving everyone to the interpretation that more could have happened. And I think that's the point that we're all trying to make that Trisha isn't getting. The fact that you're not saying what actually happened and that you initially lied about it at first and then came out later and then said what it was, you're leaving room for interpretation for our minds because we know how Martell is on the show. Like we've seen him and how he acts and what he was told his wife at the time and what his sexual requirements are and everything like that. We've all seen this season after season. So the fact that you're not being clear when this man is very clear on what he likes makes room for us, the public who review the show, watch the show, making it seem like could be something more. Because I don't think Martell will push Trish out of bed. I just don't think. That's just my personal opinion. So that's pretty much what all they talked about. Is there anything you want to add to Maurice and Kimmy before I move on to the next boring couple?
No, nothing. I got nothing. They're boring.
Very boring. So then the next boring couple we have is Tisha and Marceau, and they're talking about the exact same thing, except they're interjecting Tisha's, problem with Shanita and how, that whole situation came about where they got into it because Shanita called Tisha the ops and told Mel to watch out for her. And Tisha said that her and Mel are actually in a good place. So she doesn't know where Shanita would be coming from and everything. And in this conversation, I actually can respect Marceau a lot because he said some very profound things where he could have really let this shit go to shit. He really could have. But he actually stood up because Tisha brought up the situation with Destiny and how, Mel at one point in the trip was, implying that Destiny could have slept with Martell. And thank you, Marcel, for coming to your girl's defense because we know you have a soft spot for Mel. Marcel said that Martell has alluded to a few things that maybe could validate Mel's point of possibility of that happening. And what Marceau says that he brought up Law, which is Destiny's son, and how much he looks like Martell. And Marceau said that was in very poor taste. And Tisha's like, oh, really? He said that? He goes, yeah, he's implied that a couple of times. That, he looks like his Uncle Martell. That's what he says. And that can give somebody the implication that there could have been more that happened when you say things like that. And I agree with that. I do. I feel like Martell was really moving sloppy. That episode where Destiny came over to the house and he said, how's Law? And she goes, he's getting big. And she goes, he looked just like his Uncle Martell. It's like you're implying things when you say things like that, especially when the boy's father is one of your friends. That's absolutely insane to me. So I kind of respected Marcel for that. And then also, Tisha brings up another point that Destiny brought up on the trip that, Mel was calling, the side chick and was telling her how to respectfully cheat. And Marcel was like, I don't think any woman in her right mind would be calling a woman to say the respectful cheat. And Mel's not that kind of person. Like, we see how Mel is. So I don't believe that either. And I said, look at Marcel over here growing up before our eyes. Because I can remember a time where I could not stand this man. I was like, this man is terrible. I feel sorry for Tisha, but he actually is the one that's bringing the wisdom. Who would have thought? How did you feel about that scene with Tisha and Marcel, Mrs. Best?
Um, I thought they were both actually really fair in how they felt, the discussion, all of that. Usually Tisha will try and like say something that's just like off the wall or messy, but she seemed like she's actually reporting back in a fair way. So I'll give her that. I'll give Marcel that also. They're actually not on my nerves as bad this new after season break, whatever the hell you want to call
Right.
it. They're not on my nerves as bad. I do wish like we had a scene with them talking about something that we've already seen. Then we had the previous scene with Kimmy and Maurice talking about something that we've already seen. Like, can we see some more of these people's lives so that the audience can maybe like get to know them more, bond with them more, or help them redeem themselves from the opinions that people have on their marriages or how they've been on this show. Like, we don't need to see them discussing what we already watched like so many times. Like, we just don't. That's just my opinion. But as a whole, they were both fair. I didn't disagree with anything they said, and they didn't annoy me. So, good job, Tisha. My teeth don't itch tonight because of you.
Right. Good job, Fatisha. We appreciate it. So, y'all, the last thing we gonna get to in this mess is this dinner between Trish, Ken, and Marquez. And I don't really want to go for it word by word because it was a lot of conversations that we've already seen the three of them have already. So I kind of feel like I don't know if they just took this scene and then rebrought it back to us. I feel like I've already watched this. But basically Marquez comes in there and he pretty much tells Ken, the situation with him being the absent father. He didn't like when Trish said that. And, when he moved into the house, that kind of drove a wedge because she's moving a man into the house with his kids. And he's asking about the personal parameters he's had with his daughter. He couldn't believe he bought his son a car. And Trish was immediately pissed off. She goes, yeah, because he's been there. You haven't. Even when you lived around the corner, you weren't there. And he goes, I was there. You're not going to put that on me. And she goes, no, your father was there. You weren't. Your father picked up where you left off. So I said, okay, so we got a little bit more context of the story than what we had before. And you could tell he really didn't have the words because he started stuttering all over the place. He started, and we understand for this interview with Carlos and Dr. Heavenly that he has some sort of condition. So we understood that in that interview. So when he starts to stutter all over the place and not really have the words, I understand him now because he was doing that in the interview with them. He was a little bit more clear in the interview with them, but I understand that. So now going into it, I'm a little bit more open to him. But in this scene, I felt two ways. I heard him. I did. I heard Ken. I heard exactly what he was saying. And he wasn't trying to one up him in the moment. He was just trying to let him know, look, I had to step up because I chose to be in a situation where a woman has a man, has kids, and I chose to, be the man of the house. And I see him taking accountability, but then when Marquez started asking about, okay, well, when was the timeline? Because you were all up in her DMs and sending and sexting and all this and stuff, and they both were laughing like, no, that's not what happened and everything. Just completely gaslighting this man and making him feel stupid. Because I believe it, I do. I believe it on the strength that when they were at the dinner before the girls' trip, they couldn't quite get the timeline right. How they met, when they met, it was all over the place. So now that y'all have cohabitated a story, y'all are trying to sell this that there was nothing. I believe that there was something. Based on how Trish moves and how she concocts things, I absolutely 100 believe that there were DMs. I don't believe that man's making that up. I also don't believe that in the sense of things that he was completely absentee. I think he became absentee when Kim moved in. I think when they separated the first time and she had the first house, I think he was there. I do. Now, when Kim moved in, I think that that's when he became absentee. So, Mrs. Best, I'm gonna ask you, how do you feel about this?
I don't think that the ex-husband is lying. I don't think that he has been the most present father. I do feel like there's a lot he could have done better. And he does give off that he's immature and he's that man that's gonna rely on his parents to be them great grandparents to make up for his shortfalls of, where he could be better as a father. But I don't think he's lying. What does he lying about this woman talking to somebody else before the marriage really ended? Like, what does he get out of it? And now, with how the conversation ended and him bringing up the papers, which I know you'll discuss later, like, it disproves her claim of, oh, I've tried to get paper signed but he won't sign, he's not willing to do this and that. I don't think that he's lying about everything. I don't think he's being honest about his part in things fully, but I don't think he's lying about any of the accusations he's making against Trish. Like, what reason do he have to lie? What reason do he have to have beef with this person? Like, it doesn't make sense. I think that Trish and Ken have been the ones to prove that they may not be the most trustworthy in not just situations related to their relationships, but even outside of it, like that whole Martell BS. So I don't feel like any of this needs to be filmed personally, but I think it's fair and I do respect the producers for giving Marquez the opportunity to at least speak on his side of things because she's trying to down him and make him seem like a terrible father. But I get the sense that he was probably a terrible husband, but I do think that he became an inconsistent father during the time of the divorce. And if he has it in his mind that this man was cheating with his wife before they were, separated or any of that, then that probably also contributes to some of the absentee stuff. So I'm not
Hmm.
making excuses for him, because regardless, you got to be a better parent, be present for your kids, even just try consistently. But Trish and Ken are not innocent. I think Ken has some weird fetish for married women personally, but I'm gonna let that go.
For it to be the second time he's done this, there's something there. There's something with him wanting to be with women who aren't on paper unavailable to him. Like they're unavailable. I do have another question for you. Do you think Trish made it hard for Marquez once they separated their homes? Do you think she made it hard on him?
Trish gives me the energy because we don't know much about Trish. We just don't.
Right.
She don't show much. She's kind of quieter. But I don't know. I feel like she probably got mad at him and pettily would use the children as a way to get in between. I also feel like kids hear what their parents say, and she seems like she may like express her frustrations about him to the kids to some capacity.
Kind of
So
like
I'll
Scott
say,
did with the kids when Contessa went to school.
yeah, like I feel like she
Hmm.
definitely can be spiteful. Something about her gives that energy to me. I
Hmm.
don't think she's made it impossible, but do I think she's made it difficult enough to where the only way he could see his kids comfortably and consistently is if he went and took her ass to court? I think, yeah, that's probably the case. Uh, but I don't think she and her difficulty is an excuse for him not to be there for his kids.
Another
My
question that
mama
I have.
tried that when my parents divorced. My dad
Mhm.
must have took her to court so quick. So
Another
quick.
thing I wanted to ask you, because that's brought up, unless Alabama is one of those states where the men have to only file, the women can't file, which I feel like even coming out my mouth, that sounds weird. But why do you think Trish hasn't been progressive with the paperwork and was waiting on Marquez?
I think Trish has I don't think Trish has looked the way that she looks now all of her life, especially based on what we saw with her sister and some little pictures with family. I feel like Trish looks great now, but she might have some sort of like weird feeling or like trauma from like how she felt before in terms
Mhm.
of her looks. I don't really know quite how to explain it, but it's given whatever dude talks to her or shows her interest, she's going to be flattered by that. I feel like she enjoys attention heavily of any sort. So I feel like she kind of still likes the fact that Marquez is like interested in her enough to meet with
Oh,
the ex. Like I feel like it might make her feel some type of way.
so you think it's a superior act? Like I have my husband
Yeah.
who still wants me, and then I have this new man who supports me and gives me the things that my husband doesn't give me. You're thinking she's playing that role.
Yeah, I think she partially likes the toxic cycle also with Marquez because it allows
Mm.
her to be able to do what she wants, play with some chocolate on the side. Like it allows her to have certain comforts because it's like she's just now getting on this show. So I can't say that like finances and net worth and income is a reason that she's not divorcing him. Like I cannot say that that is a concern, but something about Trish, I feel like she likes all of this attention, and I feel like she likes toxic because she also and Marquez. One thing they can both agree on is they've gone through this little toxic cycle a few times in their marriage. This has happened a few times in their marriage, so I'm sure Ken is not the first man. He's probably the first one that was public that he
Mm.
was able to find out. But I don't know. Trish is not as innocent and sweet as she seemed.
Yeah, no, I definitely think there's a little bit of like passive aggressiveness to her, and I definitely see that there's like a calculated manipulation when it comes to her, but I can't quite pinpoint where it lies. And I was when they were at that dinner table, and when he brought the paperwork, she said that she was shocked. But then in my mind, I'm like, well, then why weren't you filing? Like, why didn't you file the paperwork? Why didn't you take the initiative if you was really done with this man? Like that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like this was really to gaslight Marquez in a way because I felt like okay, if you were done with him and you had a whole nother man and you were ready to move on, then why not go ahead and file the paperwork yourself and then serve him with it? That way you can say, look, I'm ready to be done with this instead of waiting on him to do it. That's why I kind of felt like what Kimmy said was kind of profound as well. Kimmy said in her scene, I meant to mention this, and I just looked at my notes and I didn't. Kimmy said, because Maurice asked her, why do you think she hasn't married Ken or progressed with Ken? And she said, there's probably something about Ken that she's still trying to figure out. And I kind of agree with that. I don't think, I feel like there's a physical attraction to Ken. And I think that there's a nurturing, supportive part of Ken that she likes. But there's something that he lacks that Marquez doesn't. And I don't know what it could be. I want to say sex, but I don't want to break those people's sex lives in my life like this. But I feel
No,
like,
that's exactly. I'm trying to find a non vulgar way to say this on YouTube.
right.
I think that when it comes to sex, Ken is very in tune with his emotions and finishes quickly, rapido, in rapid speed. I don't know why I feel that way. Maybe it's the stare. I don't know why I feel that way, but I definitely feel like he could have inspired Missy Elliott's hook from Minuteman.
Mm,
He
interesting.
he just gives that.
Interesting. Okay. See, we got something here with this because I was trying to figure because when Kimmy said that, and when I watched this thing, that came back to my mind. I was like, there is because there's hesitation there with her, regardless of her saying she's done with this man. It's only on paper. There's still hesitation because you still haven't filed it on your own. If I was done with somebody and I'm married to them, and then I have a whole nother person, I'm filing that paperwork before that other person even moves in with me. I wouldn't even we wouldn't even be at the stage of like serious relationship until I was fully divorced. So that's why I said there's something with her that she's not putting on, but we can clearly see it as the viewing audience. None of us are idiots here. We can clearly see there's something that Ken is lacking that you are not in tune with because you would have been put your foot on the gas pedal when it came to this divorce if he was really everything A1 stellar. I think there's something that he's not performing with that she's unsure about. I'm not saying that she doesn't like it. I think she's unsure if it could be long term. I think that that's really what it is. I do. But, everything is alleged. We don't know these people in real life. I don't know nothing about these people. I don't know nothing about their home life. I don't know nothing about them. But something that Kimmy said was very profound. When you've already been married before and you lacking in the second attempt, that means there's something that you're trying to weed out. So I don't know. But yeah. But that was pretty much it was a very short filler episode. Nothing really much happened. A lot of conversations about the trip happened between all of the couples. And then we have Trish and Ken in this situation. I don't know. I don't know what direction, but I did see that Ken and Trisha are in the opening credits of this, episode, and I'm pretty sure they'll be like that going forward. Because as you know, Stormy did quit the show, which I'm going to talk about in the updates video. So I want to make sure everyone's there for the updates video. But Mrs. Best, is there anything else you want to add to this episode before we move on?
No, hell no.
All right, y'all. Well, that was Love and Marriage Huntsville season 9, episode 3, signed, still delivered. As I said, this was just a filler episode, so we will be back on my channel in just a few minutes. We're gonna do an updates video, talk about a few things reality TV with the shows that we recap. So we hope to see you guys all there. Thank you for joining. Make sure you also subscribe to Mrs. Best's channel as well as mine. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.